Who are we? Nice people. What do? Solve problems. A customer comes on our lot to find a salesperson to identify and solve their problem. Each customer that comes on the lot has a problem and they're looking for a person to walk them through the solution. The first step to solving any problem is realizing there is one. It's very difficult to solve a problem you don't know exists. Chances are, the problem is the car they're currently driving, and the solution would be a new or different car. That's done with 2 steps. A, the pre-appraisal, with or without the trade, and B, the used car valuation sheet. Both of these steps combined are going to be a crime scene investigation, where we're going to ask questions to the customer. Customers like to talk about 2 things on a car lot. They like to talk about themselves and their cars, so this all just falls right in line. We're a product of what we believe. Whether we believe we can or we can't, we're right. Do you believe that most customers like to get another car every 2 or 3 years? Yes? Then it's true. Do you believe that future trade-in value is a real risk? That new vehicle customers like equity? That repair and maintenance costs come up in the 3rd or 4th year? Actually, let's break that one down. You take a new car, and it's probably driven an average of 15,000 miles per year, so you have 30,000 miles on it in the first 2 years. In the 3rd and 4th year, from 30 to 60,000 miles on it, so tires, shocks, alignments, tune-ups, hoses, some of those things are just wear items and need to be replaced. The 1st and 2nd years were mostly tire rotations and oil changes. But if you add in the tires, the brakes, the shocks, alignments, tune-ups, and hoses, and you average that out, you wind up paying more to drive a used car in the 3rd and 4th year than the new car in the 1st or 2nd. Moving on, that a late model, low mileage, family-driven vehicle that you sold new is worth more to you than anyone else. You have that customer. You know where that car is. You know when that car is coming back. You know how they bought it. You know everything there is to know about it. You know how often it was serviced. You kept in contact with your customer. That car will come back, you'll get that car in trade, and you'll have a story when you place it with the next family. Customer profile. How many customers of yours pay cash, finance, or lease? It really doesn't matter what the answers are, but you need to be able to take a look at this and know. Most customers, let's say 80%, finance, 10% pay cash, and that leaves 10% leasing. A customer's average finance term is from 60 to 72 months. An average lease is from 3 to 4 years. But here's the big one. How often do your customers want to trade? What we're trying to do is match the buying cycle and the driving cycle. So how often do your customers want to trade? Well, they want to trade every 2 or 3 years. What percentage of your customers are in a position to trade? If I went into a long-term contract so that I could get a payment to fit my budget, I may have extended the term. So I've gone past the time I want to keep the car. So, how many customers owe more on the car when it comes time to trade? How do they feel about that? How would you feel if you owed up to $10,000 more on a car than what it was worth? With good credit and the ability to pay, they can roll that negative equity into the next loan so it goes higher for longer. The cycle repeats itself. What do you think your customer's reaction to the word lease is? If it starts with an L and rhymes with fleece, we strongly suggest you use a different word. Rapid Ride is a planned trade cycle, and we use the lease by the manufacturer to fund it. How many times does a customer say they love you, the store, the service, they love the new car, but they owe more on the car than what it's worth, so it really screws up the car deal? How many times has this happened to you? Who's responsible for that? I am if I didn't do a Rapid Ride presentation. The customer is if we gave the presentation and they still chose long-term financing. It's not if I'm going to get a new car, it's which way I choose to get a new car. Rapid Ride is the safest way to get a new vehicle as long as you don't break the rules. There's 2. The customer is responsible for miles and condition. If I sign up for 15,000 miles, I can't put 90,000 miles on the car. I have to make sure the miles are right. I can do that based on what I've done in the past. Then there's the condition and normal maintenance. You can't raise chickens in the back seat. It's gotta look like a 2-year-old car when it gets brought back. The manufacturer is responsible for everything else. You're responsible for the miles and condition, and the manufacturer is responsible for factory error, if they made a bad car, bad publicity, the economy, accidents, color, equipment, technology. Let's say, for example, you're in your brand new car, and you're minding your own business, and somebody crashes into you. They fix it, you pay the deductible, doesn't matter whose fault it is, but you're gonna have a Carfax with an accident history on the car. If the car has got a $10,000 dent in it, which doesn't take much anymore, that car is worth less because of the history than one that looks exactly like it sitting next to it on a car lot that hasn't been involved in an accident. When you sponsor yourself on the car deal, you're responsible for everything that can happen. When you're driving the manufacturer's car, the manufacturer sponsors you on a rapid ride deal, and you're driving their car. If it's in a wreck, it's their problem. The point of sale is the point of resale. What does that mean? Well, how's this thing going to look in 2 years when they bring the car back? I want full disclosure. I want you to tell everybody the good, the bad, and the ugly about how everything is going to work. And compared to what they've done, they should be able to make the right decision. Rapid Ride puts the customer in a position to get another new car with a predetermined price. 2. Predetermined time by matching the buying cycle with the driving cycle. 3. No more being out of position or having negative equity. 4. Keeps the renewable relationship intact. This is actually just estate planning for your vehicle. If you know what you're going to do, and how you're going to do it based on what you've done in the past, all we're doing is setting it up to match that, so you're never out of position when it comes time to get a new car. The biggest expense of owning an automobile isn't the cost of the car, or the interest, or the depreciation, or any of the things you might think it is. The biggest expense of owning an automobile is poor or untimely resale value. This is very important, and we want you to really think about this idea. When it comes time to trade and I owe more on the car than what it's worth, and with my good credit and the ability to pay, I roll the negative equity into the next car deal, that's money that I don't need to spend if I just plan it differently. The history will set up the future. Nothing means nothing unless you can compare it to something. How has this customer bought its cars? And the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars? How did that work? There's a profile, or footprint, that the customer has left. When you ask the right questions, you can expose that profile so he can make the decisions he needs to make sure that doesn't happen again. Let me ask you a question. This is one of the questions you can ask, and we want you to have the discipline to do this. Let me ask you a question. Do you like buying cars? What do you think the answer to that is going to be? It's either going to be a yes or no, right? Let's say it's a no. No, I fucking hate it. Okay, you need to find out what part they don't like. I hate it. What part do you hate? I hate car salesmen. I don't like them either. That's why I work for these guys. What part don't you like? I don't like the fact that I owe more money on my car than what it's worth when I trade it. I feel like I'm getting taken advantage of. Well, how do you know that? Because there's money left over. What do you do about the money that's left over? Do you just write a check for it? I could, but I don't. So what do? I roll it into the next one. So you're paying interest on the old loan and interest on the new loan in the same car deal, right? Yes. Okay, no wonder you don't like it. Let me ask you a question. Do you like buying cars? Yeah, I absolutely love it. Okay, what part do you like? I like the smell of the new car. Well, how would you like to smell it more often? How are you going to do that? Well, I'll show you. We want you to be able to turn the answer into a conversation and listen to what they say. Nothing is going to happen unless you ask the question. When you ask the question, take the answer and turn it into a story. Here's some more. How long have you been looking for a car? How many cars have you been able to find? How many cars did you get to drive? Why weren't you able to take any of those home? What did the guy say? What did the next guy say? What did your wife say when both of those guys said that? How did they feel about that? Then what happened? You'll be able to find out exactly what happened before they got there. How does my car compare to the ones you've seen before? Your car is a nicer car, but it's more money. That gives you something to talk about. Where do we go from here? How did you come up with that number? Other than the additional money, how do you like the car? Other than that, other than what the objection is, how does mine compare to the ones you've seen? Other than that, How does this look? Are you driving a Ford now? Are you driving a Toyota now? Are you driving a now? For a new car at a Toyota dealership, you'd say to the customer that's just looking, "Are you driving a Toyota now?" He's going to say yes or no. And you'd ask, "Are you going to be selling that car back to us if you find something you like?" And he's going to say yes or no. Do you mind if you and I take a look at it? It would save you a little time. We want you to say this exactly as it's written. Do you mind if you and I take a look at it? It would save you a little time. If you say we, it changes everything. Come on, sell me your car. The guy that says, "Here's the key, go knock yourself out, go look at the car," respond with, "No, come on, sell me your car." Then you go to the car. On page 24 of the Success Highway Handbook, you will see the 12 questions you ask on the walk-around. On the next page, 25, you'll see the 360-degree presentation you're going to make. You're going to look at the car and see the pet stuff, sports stuff, life experience stuff, history stuff, future stuff, and work stuff. You're going to be able to get a profile of who your customer is. We want you to master the 12 questions and ask them in the sequence they're printed. There's a reason for this. For example, number 11 is, what does the car do Monday through Friday? Because we're in the home stretch, and 99% of the time, the customer will respond with, "I drive it back and forth to work." So that's the second to last question. If you ask it too early, you might get caught up talking about work, and the customer might lose interest in the car. On page 26, you'll see a series of questions. Remember how we talked about how we were going to do the CSI and mentioned the pre-appraisal and the used car evaluation sheet? Well, we just talked about the pre-appraisal, so this will be your used car evaluation. In order to get the most out of your car, let me ask you a few questions. We want you to use the questions and create some dialogue with the customer. How's that working out for you? How did you feel about that? We don't recommend wearing this out, but you can use it. When you sign up for 60 months and drive it for 32, how's that working out for you? Well, it's not working out very well. What part doesn't work? Well, I seem to owe more on my car than what it's worth when I trade it. How do you feel about that? I don't feel very good about that at all. How would you like to never feel that way again? That's where that line of questioning can go. How long have you been looking for a car? How many cars have you been able to find? How many cars did you get to drive? Why weren't you able to take one home? We want you to only say that once, but there's several places you can use it. The key word to this whole thing is looking. 90% of the time you're on a car lot, you're going to say hello to someone, and they're going to use that word within the first 45 seconds. So you have a place to put this line of questioning, and we want you to use it. Do you like buying cars? What part don't you like? What part do you like? Rapid Ride can fix that. That's where we're going with this. With that, you should be able to know the who, what, when, where, and why. Do you like buying cars? What part don't you like? What part do you like? How's that working out for you? What part doesn't work? How do you feel about that? This is all important, but 85% of the decision-making process is based on feelings and attitude. So the how they feel is hugely important. This dialogue uncovers the history and sets up the future. You're in the renewable relationship and problem-solving business. Get good at it. Again, a customer comes onto a lot to find a salesperson that will identify and solve their problem. You have to find out what the problem is by asking questions. The answers to the questions are based on the facts of the customer's life. They know what they are. It's important they hear themselves say that. Get good at this too. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old child, you don't understand it yourself. Albert Einstein. We like this quote at Rapid Ride. It's very simple. This is not complicated. When you present Rapid Ride, win, lose, or draw, you have relationship insurance. The responsibility for this deal gets transferred from your shoulders to the customers when you show the presentation. If you don't show it, you assume the responsibility. When you do show it, they do. Whether they do it or not remains to be seen. It'd be nice if they all did, but half of them aren't going to do it, and you can't tell by looking at them. You've got to make the presentation. For instance, I'd like you to take a look at this while I go get some numbers from your car. I'll be right back to go over this with you in a minute. And then you disappear. There's 3 different ways to do this. You can pay cash for the car, do it for 5 years, or do it for 2 years. What's that all about? I'm not paying cash for the car. Okay, Then we have a 2-year deal or a 5-year deal. Which one would work the best for you? What's the difference between the two? Well, actually, it's time. One's 5 years long and the other's 2 years long. Well, what does it cost? The 2-year deal could cost you less than the 5-year deal. Why are you showing me this stuff? The residuals on our cars are constantly changing. We want you to be in the best position possible when it comes time for your next new car. That's why. 80% of your future business is going to come from 20% of your current customers. You've got to be able to take the customers that you have now and put them in another car if you're going to grow your customer base. If you keep putting people in long-term contracts, you're defeating the purpose. Rapid ride cost. What's the real cost of driving a vehicle? When you finance your car, this is the 5-year deal. When you pay cash, and when you choose Rapid Ride, the 2-year deal. You'll notice that the 5-year deal and the cash payment are exactly the same, except paying cash removes the finance charge and that's it. The customer is responsible for the depreciation, sales tax, maintenance, repairs, vehicle condition, economy, technology changes, styling changes, market condition, negative publicity, if financing, finance charges, and mileage. Compare this to Rapid Ride. With Rapid Ride, the customer is responsible for sales tax, but that's included in the monthly payment. If you finance $2,000 worth of sales tax, you're paying on it for 60 months. If you have the same $2,000 in a Rapid Ride deal, you're only taxed as you make the payment. If you have a $500 a month payment, that includes the sales tax. It's like getting 24-month financing from the state that you're participating in for your sales tax. The customer is also responsible for vehicle condition. You can't raise chickens in the back seat. And finally, the miles. You just need to know what the miles ought to be, and you should be able to tell that pretty easily. Would you rather be financially responsible for the things you can control, rather than the things you can't control? Give yourself options instead of obligations. Again, you got the factory sponsoring you in the Rapid Ride deal. You're sponsoring yourself when you finance or pay cash. Rapid Ride eliminates the risk of ownership, sidesteps maintenance and repair costs, and gets the customer in a new car every 2 years. The risk of ownership is transferred directly to the manufacturer. It sidesteps maintenance and repair because you get out of it before it really starts. You get yourself in a position where you have a zero balance at the end of 2 years. You don't owe anyone anything providing the miles and condition are right. The customer will know what their car is going to be worth before they even leave the lot. What is it? How does it work? What will it do for me? Customer. What is this? It's a great way to get a car. Make sure to use the word get. They are not buying. Well, you eliminate the risk, you sidestep repair and maintenance, and you get a new car every 2 years. How much does it cost? Well, it should save you money based on how you're presently buying your cars. If you don't show it, if you don't present it, if you don't suggest it, it will never happen. People want to be counseled and consulted. Discovery form. Picture the pre-appraisal and the used car evaluation sheet as bookends. Whatever the customer has done in the past is contained in the middle of the two. If you're the kind of person that wants to have control of your transportation needs, if you're the kind of person that wants to get a new car every couple years, if you're the kind of person that just wants to drive a nicer car, whatever you're after, boy do we have a concept for you. Would you rather be the person that got 2 cars in 10 years or 5? If the price was the same, would you rather have 2 brand new cars or 5 brand new cars? That's the question you want to ask each customer. Building your customer bank and building your renewable relationships will do this for you. Consider the chart on page 44. You get new customers every year by default, but by building those renewable relationships and getting your customers on the Rapid Ride program, you'll experience linear growth by continuing to pair new customers with Rapid Ride and getting your current customers into new cars because they've eliminated the risk, they've sidestepped the maintenance, and they're waiting for you to call them. So if you don't show it, if you don't present it, if you don't suggest it, it will never happen. People want to be counseled and consulted. You have to act like you know what you're talking about. You have to believe in what we're trying to accomplish. It's important that you make a presentation that you believe in. Your customers are very discerning, and they'll be able to pick up on that. For example, why on God's green earth would anyone do this? When was the last time someone did something nice for someone on a car lot? Why would you guys do this? Well, Our dealership figures that if we can bring you, our customer, back into our dealership in one of our cars never out of equity, always in a position to do business, we'd probably do business more often, and we would sell more cars. You get more cars, especially if I was standing around and waiting for you when you got here. Well, how did you do that? Here's how we did it. We took the best parts of conventional financing, which is the opportunity for ownership and profit, and the best parts of a lease. That's the first time I've said this word, because you have to have a lease disclosure before you can get to finance, which is a short-term guaranteed and future value, and we combine the two to form Rapid Ride. We've been doing this a long time, and all the objections you're going to have to this presentation are on one sheet of paper. You can obtain almost all the answers from the pre-appraisal and the used car evaluation sheet. Those were the discovery pages. The history sets up the future. Let's say the customer says to you, "Gee, is this a lease?" Yes, it is. We're going to use the lease as the financing instrument for Rapid Ride. We have to get the money someplace. We took this to your bank or credit union and showed it to them, and they thought it was great until they realized that they had to guarantee the future value of 4 million cars a year, and they went pale and said, "Gee whiz, why don't you get someone else to do it?" So we went to the manufacturer. They know what their cars are going to be worth. Or maybe the customer says, "I don't want to lease a car." Okay, fine. Have you ever leased before? No. Do you know anyone who has? Yes. How did it work? It was terrible. What did they like about it? The low payment. What didn't they like about it? They owed a bunch of money at the end. They really felt like they got taken advantage of. I know exactly how you feel. A lot of our customers have felt that way about the old leases, but Rapid Ride was designed for people just like you. People that want options instead of obligations. What we're going to do is tailor the trade term to your driving cycle so you're never out of position when it comes time to trade. Earlier, I said it was estate planning for your automobile. The customer could say, "Yeah, but I never own anything." Okay, well, you'll never own your current car until you make the last payment. Right now, all you own is the debt. How many of the last 10 cars have you made the last payment on? Well, none of them. Okay, how many did you owe more on them than what they are worth? Most of them. Okay, well then you never really owned anything. It cost you $4,000 to feel like you owned the car. You didn't own the car until you made the last payment. Finally, the customer says, "I drive too many miles." Well, Rapid Ride was designed for people who drive a lot of miles. We'll calculate the excess mileage into the lease, and at the end you can slam the door and walk away. You'll pay as you go, and you'll never be out of position. Since you drive so many miles, why on God's green earth would you want to finance your car for 5 years? The total cost of depreciation, maintenance, and repair would be considerably more than with Rapid Ride. When the customer signs a conventional finance contract, they assume all the resale risk, all the maintenance and repair costs, and the expense is ongoing. They've sponsored themselves in the contract, good or bad. The risk in Rapid Ride is assumed entirely by the manufacturer. The customer is only responsible for excess mileage and unusual wear and tear. This is really important. With few exceptions, the customer's main objection to Rapid Ride is more than likely the very reason they should do it. It is the solution to their problem. Rapid Ride gives you more car, more often, for a lower overall cost. You will spend less to do it this way than you will any other way. Whatever the payment is, it's always too high. We always get down to this. There has to be the final truth. What's this going to cost me? And here comes the payment. I'm sure we'd all agree that whatever it is, it's too high for openers. The payment is too high. Yeah, but it includes everything. Sometimes that's as far as it goes and they'll say, "I'll take it." The payments are too high. Yeah, but it's only for 24 months. The payments are too high. Yeah, but it solves the problem. The payments are too high. Yeah, but it takes care of all the negative equity. The payments are too high. Yeah, but at the end of 24 months, you're going to have a paid-up contract with a zero balance. For the first time in however many car deals, you don't owe anyone anything. The payments are too high. Yeah, but you'll always be driving a new car with the most current safety features for you, your family, and your new grandson. The electronics on these cars in the next 5 years will be improving exponentially, and there's no reason to lock yourself into obsolete technology. The payments are too high. Yeah, but you're trading all the time, so what difference does it make? If you've done a good term and position presentation, you can very effectively continue with, how close to this payment can you come and still feel good about it? I don't want to say, what do you want to pay? Because it'll be light years away from where we need to be. So, how close to this payment that I showed you can you come and still feel good about it? What you're saying is that if we could get the payment down a little bit, we'd have a delivery, right? Hang on a second. I have an idea. We're going to go from 24 months and then roll it to 36 months. Make it 12 months longer and bring the payment down roughly $100 to $125. The customer will feel like you've done something for them instead of something to them. You listened to them and gave them something, and we're in a 36-month deal instead of a 24-month deal. Depending on which car they bought, and depending on what the market is, you could conceivably get the customer out at 30 months, but don't promise them that. We just want you to know. The biggest objection you'll face is, we need to go home and think about it. We've never done this before. It's too new. Okay, no problem. When you came to our store today, you were going to get the car the way you always did, right? Right. Okay, you said you need some time to decide between Rapid Ride and conventional financing, right? Right. Okay, well what is today? Today is... So you'd know in a couple days which would be best for you, wouldn't you? Well, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, well let's go ahead and deliver the car in a conventional contract today, and if you decide to switch to Rapid Ride we'll just switch the paperwork. How do you want the car registered? This is a checkmate. This is overcoming the objection. If this is not the right objection, it will smoke it right out. We want you to deliver the car. You made the presentation, you showed everything, you have relationship insurance, so we want you to deliver the car today. Would you mind if I called you when it's time to get another new car? For the guy with 84 months or 72 months or 60 months, you're not calling that guy back because they owe more money on the car than what it's worth. And you don't have to sit across the table from too many people that have a negative equity before I realize the phone calls really aren't paying off. But on Rapid Ride, it's a 24-month deal or a 36-month deal. And when it comes time to get them out of the car, you control that. You've choreographed the ending to this whole deal. You own the beginning, the middle, and, unlike conventional contract, you own the ending. You can determine when we need to get the customer back. The point of sale is the point of resale. We've eliminated the risk, we've sidestepped the maintenance and repair, and you get a car every 2 years. Here's a situation that might pop up. Well, my wife and we've talked about it, and I think we're going to buy the car. Okay, that may be the right thing for you to do. When can you come in? We'll be there in an hour. Great, we've got some paperwork to do. They come in, and these are the questions to ask them. When you signed up for this program 2 years ago, do you remember why you did it? If you did a really good presentation, they would say that they eliminate the risk, sidestep the maintenance, and get a new car every few years. Then, you'd say with a big smile on your face, why would you want to assume the risk and get right in the middle of the maintenance and repair cycle and fix it to where you don't get a new car every 2 years? Something is wrong with this picture. We have to make sure the customer fully understands before they leave. The point of sale is the point of resale. I did not sell it to them because the payments were lower. I did not sell it to them on some monetary issue. You eliminate the risk, you sidestep the maintenance, and you get a new car every few years. It's estate planning for your automobile. You get relationship insurance when you do it this way. Always, at the end of every one of our deals, we ask, how did we do? Look them right in the eye and ask, how did we do? And they'll tell you, how did we do? You were phenomenal, but that guy in the office had no idea what he was talking about. Well, let me get someone who can help us both. How did we do? You were phenomenal. We couldn't be happier. Okay, well, there's going to be a survey and a referral and all the other stuff that comes off of that. We want you to ask this every time at the end of every single presentation. If you take a look at what we talked about, what is it? How does it work? What will it do for you? You put yourself in a position to where you can't really tell what your customer is going to do. But if you show it to them and they respond to it, when you transfer the relationship to their shoulders, the relationship insurance is invaluable. Happy selling.